which are all about the well-being of children. Can we say that? Thank you. I had one person that took me up on the offer. We're working for the well-being of children. That's really important. That's really our bias. That's really what we want to work towards. Indigenous Child Wellbeing Research Network, we've changed the name recently, is a BC strategy for strengthening the voices of our children. Because very often children don't have a voice in what happens to them. And that's our responsibility, is to make space and place for the voices and for the care of children, the good care of children. So our network is given a name in Hokamina, and it's Siem's Manini, which means protected ones. We are an interdisciplinary project of Indigenous faculty, students, community members, policymakers, and community agency practitioners throughout BC with an interest in
Indigenous child well-being.
We're really interested in Indigenous child well-being and developing relationships that support this important work. I want to have relationships with you all so that I can support the work that you're doing. We all do. And that's why we love coming out to community, to hear about the work that's going on, to be able to support the work, because we know that numbers matter. And we know that support matters as well. And so if we can move together, we're going to move in a good way.
Day 2 today will be how can I translate the information received from this last 2 days to my elders and to my youth through bringing home the toolkits that I've received here, one for each of their groups, and to be sure that I can make them feel that we can also focus towards a different future and a better future where we can all collaborate and work together on this project within our own community.
You know, we really have to orientate ourselves with purpose and intention. And that's what visioning is about. Isn't it, Kathy? Thank you. Okay, good. To create a provincial research institute that will offer training and resources, support innovative Indigenous research, facilitate connections, and develop relationships between researchers, communities, and organizations. I want to have a relationship with you all. There may be ways that we can work together, and I can support your good work, and Kathy can support, or other people in the network have expertise that can help you.
I have made contact with individuals in this group that will be extremely valuable in helping me, again, find a path forward to perhaps recover a little bit more of our authentic culture within our Okanagan Nation.
Some people were kind of nervous when they came, like they didn't know, like, what is research, or what is Indigenous research, and what does it have to do with me, and what are they going to do to us, and that kind of thing. So it's been kind of fun, really highlighting what they already know, what they already do, and how so many of our daily practices really are research, right? That's what we're talking about.
One of the things I really think is the most important, and I was thinking about this last night when I left the training, is that Indigenous forms of research really honor community voice. And so they take into consideration the whole family. And usually in any Indigenous society, it's from before birth to right up to when you're an elder, and beyond that to the next 7 generations. So you're thinking ahead to your grandchildren's grandchildren.
Not only should we be providing services to the children, we need to address the issues holistically as a family, because we can give skills to the children and resources to the children, but they're going to go back to their environments. So that, I think, is really where the change needs to happen.
What is Indigenous research? What does that mean? Because it's not just about going and gathering information. It's just as important, and if not more important, what we do with it.
And I think the beauty of Indigenous research
research is whatever group that you form to do it with, or even to do it with yourself, it's all that process about reaching out to the elders and knowledge keepers and using the protocols to learn more. Like that's what grounds us in it. And then just like one more thing that you said, really, it struck me, like how people have taken different positions around traditional knowledge and such. And it brings me to this idea that as researchers or people inquiring on something, that we take a step back and try to get a bird's eye view. And what we know is that we've all been so hurt, and in really unique ways. Like we're not all the same, and we've all responded really uniquely and differently to some of the challenges and hurts in our life. So when we can step back and look at that with a compassion, sometimes we see that people are not actually as divided into these different categories as it seems. And then we can see some of these divisions fall away. But sometimes we get kind of scared and rigid, and I'm here and you're here, and in these kind of camps. And when we understand it's our history of being harmed and having fear, and that we can, with compassion and understanding, overcome that. But that's part of the role of the researcher too, is to kind of commit to looking from a slightly elevated position.
I'm glad that there's an organization in the province that's starting to collaborate with other organizations and with government to start this work that's really vital to the work of family and children serving providing agencies for Aboriginal population in the province.
The thing that's most important is to have children with their families, with their communities, and from my personal perspective, if I, for example, was able to be creative with the use of funding, and I could say, okay, I have a family here who, with some financial help, for example, could parent their children, then I'd like to have an opportunity to do that. And at this point in time, there hasn't been much of that opportunity.
It's really important to have Indigenous resources and tools for the work that we do, to show various people, whether it be funders or community or our own community, the importance of some of the work we do.
When we start looking at Indigenous ways of providing a foundation for the work that we do, I think that's really important, as opposed to like somebody in my position that's funded by the ministry, and there's expectations from the Ministry of Children and Families what those outcomes are to be. And so there's a conflict that's kind of built into that, which I'm perfectly comfortable with. At the same time, I need to continue to explore ways of making those connections more meaningful, making connections within the communities, so that I have that network of people that are assisting, and that we're all working towards the same goal in reconnecting children that are in foster care, and that we can share those ideas and our resources with one another, and that makes all of our work easier, more meaningful for the families that we work for.
We have a high population in Kelowna from Williams Lake and then that area, and they're different than Okanagan people. They have traditions that are different, and some of the workers, and including myself, we just don't understand those little nuances that are different between each nation. And I think helping everybody, including myself, learn that, it would probably make some of the work not easier, but more attainable.
It's quite apparent that Métis children and families receive less than other mainstream families, and even other Aboriginal families, and no one seems to really be talking about it, discussing it, and so I think that it's vital that there's research to show that just because you have you're from a different background or race, or your skin is a different color, that you shouldn't receive less in this country in this day and age. And currently it is, and that's totally unacceptable. And our Métis children and families are currently suffering because of that.
For some reason, we've come to this place in Canada where we believe that we can mitigate history and make it less severe and less awful than it was. I really want all of our children, not just Aboriginal children. I want my grandchildren to be clear that this happened, and it can't continue. Every time we do it, every time we separate a family from their children, it continues. It's just one more way to say you're not good enough, or you can't do it, or we know better because we're government, and we don't.
What would it have to do? Like, what purpose would it serve?
Full transparency? Yes.
Okay, so the first question was, what should it be? That is research. We came up with a few, 17 of them. Focused and meaningful and not losing contact.
Openness, voluntary, that it was fully transparent.
More positive and strength-based, focused rather than on deficits.
Like, say, as an outside researcher, what do the people want from me instead of what do I write, my agenda?
Trust. If you don't have the trust, research is pretty hard to do. If you don't trust anything, it's hard to do anything with anything.
So we often focus just on what's wrong rather than saying what's going on or what's working well within our community, and have that as part of the research.
Understanding systematic collection of knowledge.
That it's time limited / evolving. It's harmless, not hurtful. It's qualitative, not quantifiable. Purposeful and thought-provoking.
It should create more dialogue, so it should stimulate.
Research should be shared with the community, transparency, no secrecy.
In a research capacity, saying what shouldn't it not do? Yeah.
You know, that old man, every evening he would sing us a song, and he sat on his lap, and he would always touch our hair. He'd always sit and touch our hair. He would make sounds. So we don't do that anymore. That is grandparents teaching. It's just like saying, you are close to me, you are a part of me, your heart is my heart, and you are me. When I was there, when I went there, he went, shh, shh, shh. It was tenderness and love. He said, we don't do that anymore because we need to do that. And so we have lots of stories from our elders where they talk about what they think we need to do. And actually, it was really surprising, but all of them said we said we need to bring back the stick. And it's about the medicine that we share and the discipline of our children. They feel like our children are disciplined. It's not in terms of punishment discipline, but in themselves. And every single one of them said that. And so when we think about those things that our elders talk to us and the stories that we talk as in the language and what our words actually mean and what our children are saying, it's really about how do we ensure that the work that we do reflects that. Language belongs to each one of us, and we have to give it life. I was just listening to my mom. She said, we always look at something like it's in a museum. Like, to go back, it's like looking at something, we're researching historical things. Well, if we speak our language today and tell our stories today, go bury things, go hunt things, go on our land, that's not historical, that's right now. So we need to give it life.
Indigenous research is it's about your mind, your heart, and your vision, and that's part of the process. And that happened to me. I kind of asked myself, something's wrong here, something's missing, it's not making sense. And when I asked myself that, I found that what I'm looking for is something based in more honest questions of ecology. It was a human feeling of approaching Indigenous people and asking to learn from them and trusting something that in Western academia sometimes we're told to never even go near.
There's a spiritual quality to this experience as well that is a little bit harder to describe, but I know what's happening to me here is will far outlast this experience.
Coming together in a group like this and meeting people, there's probably 80% of the people in there that I've never met before. So for me to be able to get some cards, just have a quick face-to-face hello. So when I do a cold call for a service that somebody might be providing, you know, they might remember, oh, that's the guy with the goofy golf hat, right? Or, hey, you know, hi, Kelly, or hi, Linda, or, you know, this is Mike, we did training together. And I remember during the training you mentioned that you worked for or you had access to, you know, and, you know, may I access that, or, you know, may I pick your brain over accessing a resource or some information. So when you get to a collective like this, I personally believe it's always better because you're just empowering yourself.
I'm so glad they're having fun. We've structured in some playful activities and culturally based kind of fun, and I think some people maybe that aren't from Indigenous communities, you know, they wonder, why are we playing? Like, are we just like wasting time? And so it's kind of fun to put out there. No, this is, you know, like you're all talking about trauma-informed practice. This is what we do to make sure everybody's relaxed and happy and safe. And if we've had some difficult content, we want to know that they're going to go home in a good space and be happy for their partner and their kids. And so, you know, the laughing and playing around, it's part of a kind of healing, calming process, and it's just so fun to see people having fun, and then the learning really slips in seamlessly, and people are saying, wow, I know how to do this, like we do this all the time. I don't know why I was so afraid. So that's been cool. It's been really fun.
Probably two of the most valuable days I've spent learning in the last number of years.
My thoughts as a community member, I'm very happy that I've attended this particular workshop. It, as of today, has already made my inner child feel good, because I do have a lot of childhood issues that of course come from my community and growing up on that reserve community. So the day one has already shown me that there are ways to do research that can assist me in helping my community find its way and focus its way towards a better future.